Hey guys, Scarlet Darkwood here. Hope everyone's had a great week. I am always a little late to the party on things, but again, my last video I told you why I've been a little late to the party, but I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about the Nashville incident that went on in March, where a young person went in and did some very bad things in a local school. It was actually a church school, and she went in and killed some people. She killed 6 people, 3 children and 3 older adults, and her name was Audrey Hale. I know you all have heard about her. I'm not here to really get into any kind of political discourse on gender or whatever her issues were, because I'm going to tell you why on a mystical level it really doesn't matter. So I want to go over some of the mystical implications of what happened and some of my thoughts on the subject. Number one, I think it's horrible when anyone goes in and does what she did. It was awful, and there's just no words. And from a Rosicrucian standpoint, they would also express horror at that. The ending of it, with her being taken out permanently, you know, it's always good to avoid situations like that if you have to, but in some cases in our mundane world, you just have to take action, and it just doesn't end well. And I've been hearing a lot of people say, well, you know, the only good thing that came out of it is they killed her and took her out. And I understand that feeling. Totally get it, because I feel that way a lot of times too when I hear of situations like that. But mystically speaking, I'd like to talk about why it would have been more ideal if there had been a way they could have contained her. I understand they couldn't. If she's actively doing things, you have to act fast, and sometimes you just don't get to go have things the way you need for it to go or would like for it to go. People are saying, oh, it was a good thing, you know, they stopped her and she's gone forever. From a mystical standpoint, let's talk about this. Every one of our souls are divine, including hers, okay? I know that may be hard to believe, but from a mystical standpoint, her higher self and her soul is pure. It belongs to God, or either that collective cosmic intelligence. And I'm sure her higher self was in abject horror at what her lower self was doing. You see a person who, at that point in her life, is very separated from spirit. Completely separated from spirit. There's almost no conscience, or there's so much anger that on a vibrational level, she is like nearly rock bottom. And it gives me chills just talking about this as I'm explaining this now. But it really shows someone who is at their lowest level, at their most base human devil level, someone who was separated from spirit and far from being connected. And Master Jesus would say, no matter what she identified with or whatever, he's concerned about your heart and your soul. That's what he's concerned about most of all. And he would be very sad that all of those people were gone. Her, the 3 adults, the 3 children, because there's 2 sides of this equation. Yes, families are going to be just horribly upset when, you know, their family goes to work or their child goes to school and they're not coming home once they leave home that day. We also forget that Audrey had parents. That was their child. And so not only do they have to now also have a family member gone, they have to deal with the embarrassment of knowing what their child did. You know that has to just rock them to the core in such a horrible way. And if you were a parent, you put yourself in their position, and you think about for a moment how you would feel if that were your child who did that, especially when you didn't raise them to be that way, when you did everything in your power as a parent to help that child and to make it be the best it could be, and it goes off and just goes off the deep end. It's got to be horrible. And they have to deal with that too. People whispering about them, talking about them, probably looking at them in disgust. It's got to be horrible. You know. So let's move on with the mystical level of this, and this is going to touch around reincarnation. And if you don't believe in reincarnation, you can just tune out now, because, you know, Rosicrucians teach reincarnation. There's a lot of Rosicrucians who don't believe in reincarnation. But here's the thing with this young person, not being able to be contained, even taken in prison, because a lot of people transform in prison. There's a lot of people who, because you know she would have gone to prison. There's no way around that. A lot of people do transform there. You know, they have some time to think, a lot of time to think, and they can turn their lives around. Had she been able to have been contained without doing any further damage, she could have been hopefully rehabbed, talked to. She could have changed her mind on all of this and realized what she had done and shown remorse. She could have been an advocate for something. You hope. All of this is mere speculation, but that's the hope when somebody commits a crime or does something horrible, is that you try to take them and raise them up spiritually, because here's what's going to happen. She is gone. When she reincarnates, now she's got to pick up where she left off. And you're going to have a very angry woman. She's going to have to now work through that again, and who knows what she might do again. We don't know. So, you know, to say, oh, well, good, she's gone, I'm thinking, nah, she's coming back. Whether you believe that or not, she's coming back, and she's still going to be a mad person. Or she may end up having to work through that on some level. And it's going to be harder for her. It could be harder for the community. You never know. I hope, you know, she works through that when she reincarnates again. But now we won't have the opportunity to try to rehab that spirit and raise their vibration. They say in ancient Atlantis, they didn't kill people who committed a crime. They didn't have lots of it, from what I've read. But they actually tried to rehab that person. They would, through energy work and positive thoughts and a positive rehab like that, they would try to raise their vibration so that that person felt remorse. They understood what they did was not right, and that they could take the steps to correct it and maybe get themselves up functioning higher, on a higher vibrational level, and so that they can continue evolving positively. And so now we have somebody who's going to be very delayed in doing that, and everybody's all happy about it. And I'm not happy about it. I feel bad that she's going to have to come back and deal with that on some level. It's going to stick with her. And I'm sorry families lost their loved ones and their children especially. That's horrible. But, you know, when you pray for everybody, you know, that's including the perpetrator. Because in the end, you know, they have a soul and a spirit too. Unfortunately, they just got really disconnected and lost their way somehow. And it's our, you know, it's in our best interest to try to help people like that so that they can become a better version of themselves. And so I wanted to point out those mystical implications and just kind of throw that out there. And let me know what you think about it. If you're going to be ugly and say something snarky, please just don't. I'll just mute you and block you. But if you have something thoughtful or some, you know, different aspect you'd like to share, feel free to put it in the comments below. And that's all I have to say on that. I hope you think about it, and I will see you all next week.